Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, 4 Nerds by Nerds, hanging out with.
Nerdarchy Ted.
In this character build, we sell our soul for rock and roll.
Jump down in the description below where you can sign up for Nerdarchy the newsletter, get weekly gaming tips, as well as learn how to game with us.
So over on Patreon, one of our new patrons, Poison, actually had thrown up a post over there and wanted us to help with a character build that he's working on. And he actually came up with a really, I'm guessing it's Hero Forge, but it's a really cool mini for the character. And the premise is he wants to play a Tiefling Bard Warlock that has sold his soul to Asmodeus for rock and roll.
Absolutely. So there's a number of choices that have to be made, and Poison gave us some info about what he wants to do. So we got to start it off. All right, race has been chosen, and that's Tiefling. But where do you go next?
Well, classes have already been chosen, and he's like Warlock Bard, and more specifically, he wants 2 levels of Warlock because he wants the Invocation Agonizing Blast. So that only leaves one other invocation for us to choose from.
So if we look at the invocations and we know that he's going to be a bard, there's a couple different options that I looked at that would work out really well. I looked at Eyes of the Runekeeper because then you could be able to read everything. Now that's focused more on the lore bard aspect, but he wants to be more of the musician. So Dave brought up, well, what if you went
Well, before that, you also brought up another possibility as well.
Right, I talked about the Armor of Shadows, which could kind of be a cool effect if you're looking to just look intimidating.
Well, and also, having the armor class isn't bad either, but you get a light armor, and it really is. You're really saying, I'm going to trade this really cool invocation for a +1 armor class. And so, because you can get studded leather, right?
Right.
So you have to decide, is it worth it for a +1 armor class, or do you want to do something more interesting than that?
Right. So we looked at the Devil's Sight, which, if you're going to be anywhere that's going to be dark, you see normally out to 120 feet, so it's already going to improve your dark vision, beyond what anybody else actually gets.
And then you can even see in magical darkness.
Right.
So it is way better. It's definitely an upgrade.
So yeah, absolutely, the upgrade works. So I think we kind of settled on that one.
Yeah. Now the other one, the Eyes of the Runekeeper, kind of goes along nicely with something else we were talking about earlier off camera, but we'll circle back around to that later. But I think the Devil's Sight works, and also like this deal with Asmodeus and the fact that I don't know what level they're starting at, but I don't think it really matters because here's the thing about Bard, right? Even though your power comes from being a bard and playing music, what's to say you didn't really get that power? Like he could literally just drop the Warlock if he wanted to, and just go with, I'm a bard, and my power comes from the deal I made with the devil.
Right.
And he's got a cool name for this character too.
What was the name?
Carlos Satana.
Oh, nice.
So that's kind of funny, and it's definitely, this character's built kind of tongue in cheek. So we had discussed that, and like here's the thing too. Why, like, technically, Tiefling is its own race, but you could go with another race as your original race and be like, well, part of the deal was when you made the deal and you sold your soul for rock and roll, he kind of remade your character, and now he's a Tiefling.
Right.
And we were like agonizing over like what background to go with, and you're like, well, he's already charisma based, so why not go with a charisma based background?
So I looked at it as like, well, I didn't want to do entertainer because that's the obvious choice. So I was like, well, what about charlatan? And he's trying to woo his way into the nobles and get kind of favor. And I was like, all right, that works. And Dave was like, well, I don't see that. What about Urchin? And he starts off a nobody, and he wants to be a somebody.
Yeah, so both of those really work, and like even the charlatan one, I'm like, well, it could be cool if like he's his like regular dude, but like his alternate, his alternate identity is like the rock star guy,
Mm-hmm.
and he kind of does that. And like Kiss in the early days, they were all like professionals, and that's why they put the makeup on and everything to hide their true identities. So what if it's like that? So that could work for the charlatan. The urchin, again, that is fun to be a jumped up nobody that had nothing, and then you're like, oh, I make a deal, and boom, I'm a rock star.
And then Dave came up with a really awesome idea. What if he was honestly going with the idea of he started off as another race and something totally that doesn't fit? This guy was a sage. Whatever race he was a
Dude,
sage.
he is the total ye old nerd, right? And he's like totally like a bookworm and scrawny, and and he's got nothing going on, and he reads this book, and
He comes upon this invocation, this thing that summons Asmodeus, and he's like, all right, you've brought me here, you know, what do you want?
do you want wealth? Do you want power? Do you want women? And dude is just like,
I
I
want
want
to
to
rock.
rock! And so Asmodeus totally turns him into this badass tiefling persona, which he can't change back out of, and imbues him with his bardic abilities, and totally is fulfilling his desires for the low cost of his soul.
Oh yeah, it's just piddly. I mean, it's not like he's using it for anything.
Yeah, right. So that and he got something cool out of it. It's not like he just got a jelly donut. But yeah. So now now he is a bard. He can start taking when he gets when he levels up. He can start taking levels of warlock if he wanted to, and totally College of Lore makes sense now because he's already a sage. And the other thing that's cool about the Tiefling too is like thaumaturgy is one of their cantrips, and so instead of using it for like cool and useful things, he could use it for like stage pyrotechnics and effects while he's performing.
Yeah, I think this rounds him out pretty nicely. Um, you know, there's only a little bit of crossover between Bard and Warlock with spells, so I would go with things that for your spell selection on Warlock, things that you wouldn't get that you have access to for Bard. So like I looked at you get three spells for your 2 levels of being a Warlock. So I looked at Hex and Witch Bolt because those are not bardic spells. And then for the third one, I would either look at Armor of Agathes or Arms of Hadar.
Yeah, you could definitely do things like that, and then that's just going to add to your bard repertoire, and then you're going to get magical secrets eventually. I guess we probably should mention this, even though it seems implied when we say Asmodeus, that he's looking at a fiendish warlock pack, and from that you're gonna get 2 spells that you could possibly choose from that aren't on your list, and that's Burning Hands and Command. And I was really surprised to find out Command is actually not on your list as a bard.
So I think I would definitely select Command as one of my 3.
Yeah, that definitely works out. So again, like if you wanted, and even burning hands is a nice low level spell. And
I would want Hex because you could use Hex in combination with your
anything.
Well, with anything, but specifically he wants to be able to use the cantrip, Eldritch Blast. So Hex works out with that, and then you could be like, all right, well, do you want Witch Bolt or Burning Hands, or do you want Arms of Hadar or Command?
Right. So I would probably go with Command just because it thematically fits the character.
Mm-hmm.
Arms of Hadar, whatever.
Yeah.
Probably lose that one. Then it's kind of like the toss up between Burning Hands and Witch Bolt. Both of them are pumpable. One of them gets a small area of effect, and it's also a spell you really don't have access to.
Right.
So I mean, actually, yeah, they're both spells you really don't have access to. I think.
Until you get your magical secrets with Bard later.
Right, but I just don't feel like you're taking a first level spell with that.
It's true.
So it does add some flavor, some changes things up a little bit. The fiery kind of fits with your motif for being a tiefling as well as being a fiend pack warlock, and then maybe use all your other spells to go away from the fire, so you can kind of like round things out a little bit.
Right. So when you get to your magical secrets, if you did go with the the dark vision eyes, I would select darkness because bards don't get that one. So you get access to darkness once a day being a tiefling, but you could use your magical secrets if you wanted to be able to use that more often. Seeing in darkness is pretty awesome. So it's like, all right, I'll plop it on me. You're not attacking me, and I can see just fine.
Or they can attack you, but you get advantage on your attacks, and they get disadvantage to attack you. It becomes an extra defense for you. Or, you can put it on the battlefield and it adds battlefield control that doesn't hinder you. Maybe your party, but not you per se. So there's a lot of interesting things you can do with it. So this is probably going to be a fun character for Poison to play.
The important thing is you'll be fine.
The important thing is you will be fine. So do you have any suggestions for Poison? You know where you can put them down in the comments below. While you're at it, like, share, and subscribe.
You too can support us over on Patreon.
So until next time.
Stay nerdy.